Hey vinyl community, welcome back to a new episode of RB's Vinyl Corner. I'm holding here an album which is called Mother Bass, which is a debut album from Mother Bass. And actually I got a request from the guitarist and the songwriter from this album. His name is Friso Woudstra. And he sent me a message through Facebook and asked me if I would be interested in doing a review on their debut album. And so he sent me this one. I'm really happy and really thankful for that. But I'm also really honored that that they asked me to do a video about this because that means that apparently they like what I'm doing, and that's always good to hear, of course. So I got this album through the mail, and I have given this a couple of spins, and I think I'm ready to talk a little bit about this. Well, if you go and visit their website, which is motherbass.com. Let me see if that's correct. Yeah, it's motherbass.com. They describe themselves as hard rock, alternative, and neo-grunge. And basically, they describe their sound as that. Now, I gotta be completely honest with you. I have not really a lot of experience with grunge music. I'm not really into grunge music. I had never been. Of course, there are a couple of bands in that genre that they call grunge that I know, like Nirvana, like Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden. I do know some of those bands, and I do know some of their songs, but I really never really got into it. So actually, within the grunge genre, I don't really have material that I can use as comparison to talk about this album. But I gotta be completely honest with you. When I put it on this record on my player and it started playing, it wasn't actually grunge music that first came to my mind. What actually did come to mind is it felt like I was thrown back to the very late 60s and the early 70s, and the first thing that came to mind when I heard this was Zapp or Led Zeppelin. Not that this band sounds like Led Zeppelin at all. I mean, it's not like, for example, Greta Van Fleet, who are exactly like Led Zeppelin. But what this gives you is, or at least it gave me, the feeling that this is like end 60s, early 70s hard rock. Very low tuned bass and guitar work, very heavy, but also very bluesy. And then I started thinking about bands like Black Sabbath, like Led Zeppelin. And that's the first thing that came to mind when I was listening to this. It really gives me a 70s, especially early 70s vibe. And when you go to their website, you will see themselves telling that this album that they did was an album that they wanted to hear themselves, and which they were missing for at least the last 10 years. And I think they're right. There is not a lot of musical groups these days, I think, that makes music like Mother Bass did with this record. So actually, as a lover of that genre myself, especially, I mean, I got all the records of Led Zeppelin here. I got a couple of Black Sabbath also. I got some of that late 60s and early 70s stuff here. And as a lover of that genre and that kind of music, I actually can tell that I also really like this album as well. It has 10 songs, and it's a pretty short album, which I think, and I don't know if I said this before in one of my previous videos, but we are actually in some kind of a revival of vinyl the last couple of years. And one of the things that I actually do like about vinyl records is that most of the times they are short and sweet. And because you have a very limited space on a vinyl record, you are actually, you have to make some choices. Some songs will make the cut, some don't. But what happens is that if you record a vinyl album like this, and I only can imagine that then you would only want to have your best songs on an album like that. And one of the things that I actually don't like a lot about the CD era is that some bands started to record explicitly long records and long albums. Like, for example, if I talk about, let's say Iron Maiden, or let's say Metallica, when they recorded Load, One thing they wanted to do is they wanted to make an album that would use the full 78 minutes that that a CD was capable of holding. And what happened is that some of the songs on that album were pretty good, but a lot of the songs on that album actually weren't. They weren't too long, they were boring, and you could really feel that some of those were actually fillers. I have the same feeling with some of the Iron Maiden records also, like Fear of the Dark is a very long album, and a lot of the songs on that album, the album would have been better if some songs were actually left out. So just not wanted to compare this with Iron Maiden or Metallica, but just saying that a lot of these bands these days really they try to make unnecessarily long albums. Now recently a couple of my most favorite bands have been releasing albums, like let's say Europe. Their last album, which is called Walk the Earth, was very short. It was like 40 minutes. And the last album by Saxon, you know Saxon, one of my favorite metal bands. Their latest album, Thunderbolt, actually is very short. And I see also like around 40 minutes. And I think 40 minutes, 45 minutes actually is the most ideal length for a good album, because it keeps the strength and the power and the flow good. And if you finish an album, at the end of the album you want to have that feeling, oh, I want to hear more, instead of, phew, that was a long album, man. Because a short album is also an album you're going to play more often. And I think a band like this, Mother Base, with 10 songs, pretty short songs, not really long songs, makes this album actually very effective. And you want to actually play it again after you spin it. So I think that's a pretty nice thing, and I really like to see musical artists making short and strong albums rather than double LPs with long songs and which you want to actually turn off halfway. 10 songs, we have 5:15. Silver Spoon is kind of like, they made a video clip for that, and I think it's also one of my favorite cuts on this album. I really love that song, and actually I think that one also really has that 70s vibe, and I'm going to play a part of that song at the end of this video so that you have a pretty good idea of what it sounds like. We have Wolfman, A Grand Old Town. I love that song also, The Strange Ones. And then on side B we have Sceneries, Roadside Epiphany, Epiphany. I'm not sure how you say that. I'm just going to show you here. Roadside Epiphany. Dimension, Fly, and Eventide. Now this Friso Roustra, who is the guitar player, is the one who is responsible for writing most of the songs, and also the lyrics for the songs. And I understand that this guy is also like a poet, and he likes to make poems. And I think that's something you can really see in his songwriting. It really reflects his love of poems and that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's have a look at the vinyl, because actually I like this one. It's very simple. It just has their logo on the front cover, but sometimes simple is the most effective, and it's really an eye-catching logo, I guess. So yeah, that's it. And the flip side has just this track listing, and the label they released this album on is called Freya Records. So it comes with an insert. I'm going to show you that one with a nice band photo, and on the flip side we have all the lyrics to the songs. Pretty cool. I think the lyrics are pretty good. It's not the average Dutch guy writing lyrics. It's really very well thought of. So it's pretty cool. So then we have the vinyl, and it comes in a plain white polybag. And I like the logos, actually. I like the labels on this one. I'm just going to show you. On side A, the label just consists of the Mother Base logo. And on the other side, the label consists of band picture. So there you go. Very nice pressing. The sound of this is really good. This actually is music that should be played on vinyl. This is ideally music to put on vinyl because vinyl gives you that warm sound, and this music actually sounds very warm. It's very low tuned, and again, it's also limited. There are 500 pressings of this album. I got number 27. All I can say is that if you like the aforementioned bands like Zeppelin, but if you like grunge music, or you like this classic hard rock, end of the 60s, early 70s stuff, I just can highly recommend this one. I think you're gonna love it. It's a really cool album. If you love that blues rock sound, I think this is one to check out. So if you love these genres, if you love the aforementioned bands, check this out. You can get this through their website on motherbase.com. I will put a link here below this video. And let's just, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to spin Silver Spoon. And I'm going to let you listen to that. And again, if you like it, just order this album through their website. Support the band. And all I can say is I enjoyed this. And again, if you love the genres and the bands that I mentioned before, please get this one and give it an honest chance. Friso, thank you for sending me this album. I hope you like this review, and we'll speak to each other soon. And for the rest of you, thank you for watching again to a new episode of Arby's Vinyl Corner. Enjoy the song Silver Spoon, and I see you in the next video.